I promised you a part two of this thing about comics. Um, I love comics. I think that comics are a way of getting your point across. Um, and really define what the words are saying. You know, when you read any book, um, you have to make up a picture or try to picture in your mind what the author is talking about. But when you uh, read comic novels and comic books, the author, whether he's talking about fiction or nonfiction, is giving you the artwork, the illustration, to let you know exactly where he's going. And I love that. I love that. And you know, it's kind of like highlighting everything you say. Like I showed you yesterday on part one of this, I showed you the Will Eisner or Ishner, how you ever you pronounce his name. I have his books over there. Um, I showed you how he expresses what he's talking about in uh, his writings, his comics. So, again, I showed you this one yesterday. I was finally reading this today. The silence of our friends, the civil rights struggle was never black and white. And I got into it today, and it ends with a black man and a white man being the best of friends. Um, you know, we need more. I can't say it enough. We need more comic novels like this. We really do. We need more of that kind of thing. Getting back into science fiction, here's Black Orchid. Orchid. And I think this was in a movie or came out as a movie later on or before the book came out, one of the two. Because I'm pretty sure I seen a movie premiere for this. But I like the artwork in here. I love the color in here and so forth like that. Uh, the naked woman walking around is, I don't know, kind of mystical. Um, it's weird. Um, I think for me, this is something you look at it once, um, and then you don't look at it again. That's just me. Um, I think it's very rated R if you ask me because there's like, you know, many different places here. These naked women walking around, and I guess the naked woman is the woman that was dead, and I guess her walking around naked shows her immortality or something like that. I I don't know. I don't know. It's really weird. I haven't read it yet. I'm going to read it. Like I said, I borrowed these from the library. I'd rather borrow them from the library to get an idea of what I want and what I like. Something like that. As a Christian, I really don't get into all that mystical stuff. You know, um, that's just me. But I love the artwork in there, the colors and that, pretty awesome. The storyline in there is really, really way out there. Sometimes you wonder though, the people that write this stuff. you wonder where they're at. Like, I mean, their mind is really out there. Like, what is it, Steven Spielberg or something like that? The one that wrote The Seventh Sense or whatever. People that write horror movies and books, like the woman who wrote Harry Potter. You just wonder what they do after when they're not writing. Because the stories are really, really mystical. This here is a sci-fi one, and as you can see, it's by Image again, the same people who do what is that? East of West. I'm pretty sure it's East of West that I showed you yesterday. This is the same publishing company, Image. But you can see they have different artists for different things. And this one here is kind of like, have you seen the Recall with like Arnold Schwarzenegger? Recall, I think it's called. And then there's the new one. I forget the actor's name. Played on SWAT too, with Samuel L. Jackson. But this is kind of like in the way it at, where they're way in the future and the world is a different place, and he's running around with this younger girl. I think he eventually falls in love with her or something. But it's all about them and some secret weapons and you name it. I like it. I just wish they get to the point. I read over half of it. I got to finish reading it. I own this, by the way. This is mine. I bought this right down the bottom of the hill from my house. Nice comic book store down there that I discovered. Walk past it every day. Didn't know it was there. But they sell some of the top comics in there. That's how they keep the place running. But I just love I love the artwork in these comic books. I mean, I think I'm becoming addicted. I think if you want me to read something, and see, don't let anybody put you down because you love comic books. Because comic books have to be what? They have to be read. You have to read them. Okay? See them little boxes? See them little boxes there? What are those? Words in there? You have to know how to read in order to read a comic book. Don't let nobody put you down and say, oh man, you're into comic books. That's kind of silly. No, it's not. You have to read them just like you read a book. You do less reading, but like I said, each balloon or each box where you read, the artwork illustrates what you're reading, which gives to me the story or whatever the author is trying to express, gives it more expression and gets it straight to the point. Okay? I think that's just beautiful, and I think that's what comics are about, and I think that's what they should be about, and I think more adults need to get in to reading comics. Now, this one here is called African American Classics. Okay? And some African stuff, as I said before, I don't get into because I get tired of black folks always going for the race card. Always complaining about slavery, taking us back there. I'm sick of it, man. We're not slaves anymore. That was a long time ago, and you were not there. I wasn't there to suffer that stuff. So quit worshiping it. Just stop worshiping it. But this here, I was like putting on my helmet when I looked at this because it says African American Classic, but actually it's not about slavery or none of that stuff when you open it up and start to look at it a little bit. I think it's more about them. I mean, there might be a couple slave stories in here, but most of it is just stories that were written by an African or a group of Africans. And you know, it's not all black stuff. There's some white stuff in here too. Regular, and it's like a magazine. This here is like a magazine. You know, like each story is different, and they got different artists in here and stuff. This is the kind of book that you love to take with you when you are sitting on the train or the bus or at the doctor's office. This is the kind of stuff that you want to look at. And I got a feeling I'm gonna have to rent all this stuff back out because I got so much stuff that I collected, and some of it I really don't care. It's kind of silly and goofy, but a lot of it I want to read. Like this here, I want to read this in its entirety. Again, not because it says African American, but because the stories in there and the artwork in there is pretty hot. And last but not least, this here is Django. Okay. I don't know if you've seen the movie Django, but this is the book to it. And as I said before, a lot of times the books give more detail than the movies. And this here is more graphic than the movie. So, you know, it's more graphic than the movie. So you might want to, you know, all comics ain't for kids. And I know that kids can go in any comic store and just like they can go, you know, go in it and get online and look at porn. You know what I mean? A lot of these kids can go in comic stores and buy these comics, and this one doesn't. It says suggested for mature readers on the back of it. So it all depends on where you go. I think down here at Ides, downtown Pittsburgh, I think they really screen you when you come in there to buy stuff. If you look like a kid to them, they're going to say, hey, the kid stuff is over there, you know. So, and they do have stuff separated into categories and different floors and different sections and all that kind of stuff. But the artist in here is obviously a very, very good artist. And they try to make the guy in here look like, what is his name? Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx played in the original Django, the movie. But this guy in here, he did pretty good, making him look like Jamie Foxx. But again, I think they added some stuff to this to make it more interesting, and it also, like I said, is more graphic. So, but I'm going to read it. You know, I like movies, but again, I get a little tired in there because, like that, I like action movies like that, but I kind of get tired of people going back in time into slavery. And I don't think this here is a real story, a real true story. I think this here is more of a kind of like fictional thing. I don't think there was really a Django that went and killed all them white people to get back at them for slavery. But I mean, you know, his partner was white, so I guess that justifies it. I don't know. But again, I get tired of people just going back there like that. Like, let's begin to make movies that are strictly about good fighting evil instead of always movies that separate us from each other. Another thing I get tired of in closing is I get tired of every time you do a movie with Arabs in it, they're always terrorists. I don't think all Arabs are terrorists, and Arabs have a lot more going on for them than just ISIS or even Islam. Okay, like give me a break. Like stop using all the Turkish, Saudi Arabian people to play the part of terrorists. Let them play some other parts besides terrorists all the time. Same thing with black folks. They don't have to be slaves all the time. They don't have to be gangbangers all the time, or you know, thugs. I think black folks at this day and age should be playing movies that are more just, what I'm saying? We shouldn't keep creating movies from where we used to be and where we've been and our sad story of what we had to go through. We need to start creating movies based on where we want to go. And I think that's why a lot of black folks hate Tyler Perry, because Tyler Perry has the setting is different. He shows you that there are black people that are thuggish and all like that, but he shows you that there are black people that are wealthy, okay, that are actually separate from the black community. And it's true. Everybody's not a thug. Everybody's not um you know uh a racist and all that kind of stuff. And that goes for white people and black people. And I think there's a lot of black and white relationships that are deeper than just partners on a police force or partners in crime or partners in a racial situation. You know what I'm saying? I mean, some of us, like in this day and time, we grew up together. And there was nothing about race when we grew up together. We simply went to the same school. And then we grew up, and one of us went to this college over here. One of us went to this college over here. And then we met later when we got married. And we've been friends for like God knows when. And it never was about, marching or civil rights or we didn't have to go through a bunch of racial war to become friends. We're living in a day and time now for the last, I'd say, 2 or 3 generations where people are growing up in high school together. Black and white people are growing together, living in the same communities and coming up together as friends, and they have everything almost equal. Let's do a comic book about that. Let's do a movie about that, about reality. Not always going back in time and trying to, pick off of that like that. Let's focus on bettering things. This is 2017, man. We got to chill. We need to calm down. And with all the stuff, and I did this in another video, I talk about this on one of my other channels too. But with all the stuff going on, against the man in office now and all the fighting and protesting and crying and whining and all this stuff, we don't need to make any more black and white nonsense. We don't need to, make these Arabs be anything they ain't trying to be. We need to, whatever we write, whatever we make a comic book about, whatever we make movies about, we need to update them to make them more about where we're trying to go instead of our sad story that we're trying to get away from. At least we're supposed to be trying to get away from that. And I'm not here to preach. That's another video too. Maybe even on another channel. But I love comics. And I think that just like the movies, we can do better with storylines. And um, I'm 50 years old, and I'm just now getting back into this, and I'm enjoying myself. But I really would like to see um, them do better. Okay, just like, and they are. Don't get me wrong, they are. Just like the movie industry itself. We have action, we have suspense, we have horror, we have sexy stuff, we have comedy. I like comedy, and I like science fiction, um, and I like uh, um, nonfiction. I like science fiction. I like comedy, and I like nonfiction books too. By the way, I read that book that I told you about, Trillion. Let me get it real quick. I finished this in its entirety last night. Right after I got done doing the other video, I finished this in its entirety. Okay. This is called Trillion. It was kind of boring, but I read the whole thing through. It's about this girl. It's a sci-fi film. Speaking of sci-fi, and it's kind of like, the year is 2027 or something, somewhere out there, and most of the world is dead, and you can like count on your fingers how many people are living. It's really weird. The thing I hate about this is two things. Is that the artwork? When I first opened it up and started to read it, um, the artwork kind of like doesn't alter. It doesn't move very much. It just, what I'm saying. But then as I read it, I understood why, because, the world is a lonely place in this book. I mean, there's like 100 people or less on Earth. And at the end of the story, they find a few more. And this girl lost her family through this whole, disease and everybody in here is like real skinny, and because they don't eat much. They eat enough to live. And there's aliens on the planet where um, where she gets help from the aliens to survive, but her commander is like stealing from the aliens, okay, whatever she needs, and willing to destroy them in order to keep what she needs, and to keep them from fighting back and taking it back, or however that goes. Um, but the artwork in here, I understand how it's to give you it makes you feel how lonely the earth is at this time. But the thing I really hate, if I can get you a picture here of it, is look at this. Like, they're trying to show you two different times, like two different times going on. So what they do is they have this here is like the current time, and this here is them thinking back in time. Okay? It's just weird. But not my favorite thing. Um, but again, good art. The art is good. I can see they use a mixture of ink and watercolors in this uh, in this book. Good artists. Um, I don't know. It could be better, but you know, that's one thing about all these comic books is the fact that they're all good artists. And I think that if anybody thinks that you can just grab a pencil and piece of paper and do what they've done, you're crazy. I think most of these people did go to college that do these novels, or they spent like, they've been doing comics like forever. I mean, the ones that went to college usually went to college and been doing this kind of work since they were in college, okay? The ones that didn't go to college that do this kind of stuff, they've been doing it since they was just a little baby. I mean, they've been drawing this stuff since they were a little baby. There's some people on YouTube, you can look them up, who will show you how they go all the way back in time, when they were just little children, they did comics. And one of the girls that is a comic novelist here on YouTube, she actually published her first comic book when she was just a kid. And then she took a break from it for a while. She went to college, got married, had kids, and she gave up on it for a while, and then she went back into it. But I like to draw, and like I said, when I get down to it, when I find a time to really put my characters together, I'm going to post it here on the channel. But if you have some titles of some good comic books for me to read that you think that I would enjoy, please let me know. If you have some publishers that you think would publish to me or sell me rather, the kind of stuff that I'm really interested in, the kind of stuff that really would bless me, let me know. But leave a comment, a like or a dislike, subscribe. Give me a reason to do more videos. I love doing these videos, and I love talking about my favorite hobbies, which is this and music. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll be talking to you again soon.